The Pentagon press room just became a war zone. The Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth stood at that podium, looked straight into the cameras, and delivered the verbal equivalent of a MOAB, that's the mother of all bombs, to the entire mainstream media. CBS, CNN, MSDNC, the New York Slimes, he called them out by name. Not for bias, not for poor reporting, but for something far worse. Rooting against America's military success just because they hate Trump more than they love this country. What follows was the most brutal takedown of fake news ever delivered from an official podium. Reporters sat stunned as Hegseth exposed their games with receipts. That wasn't a press conference, it was a reckoning. Keep watching. You know, the media spins lies when your children absorb their poison. Every headline teaches them America is evil, success is shameful, capitalism sucks, the truth is relative, boys can be girls. You know, there is an antidote to this indoctrination. The Tuttle Twins. The Tuttle Twins. They have a magazine that teaches kids real economics, actual liberty, and personal responsibility through engaging comics and activities. No strange, weird, woke, tranny, DEI nonsense. No socialism, communism, fairy tales. Just timeless principles of freedom delivered monthly to your door. While fake news corrupts young minds with anti-American propaganda, the Tuttle Twins build tomorrow's patriots. Subscribe for just $56 per year at TuttleTwins.com/next. Don't let the media program your children. Teach them to think. All right, now Secretary Hegseth walked into that Pentagon briefing room with one mission: expose the media's treachery. What happened next should be taught in journalism schools as a cautionary tale, not to be a dumbass demagogue. Watch as Hegseth stares directly at the press corps and delivers the truth bomb that they never saw coming. This isn't diplomatic language. This is a warrior calling out traitors to their faces. Check it out.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
I literally don't know why these people even have access to these proceedings. You know, he said it out loud. The press cheers against Trump so hard they root for American military failure. Totally un-American. And with such a delicate job, I mean, it's amazing. It's just incredible that these people aren't behind bars. What Hegseth was just he was just warming up. Watch him explain exactly how their hatred blinds them to the incredible achievements of our military heroes. The fake news would rather undermine American success than admit that Trump has delivered an historic victory. This goes beyond journalism. This goes beyond free speech. This is sabotage, sedition, possibly treasonous. I don't know. We'll see. The press tried to play their usual games, bringing up identity politics and gender. Not like anyone cares anymore. Like, I feel like that's just so like 2020. Watch how Hegseth shuts down their pathetic attempts to divide our military by race and sex.
Why not acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission? The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers as a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. Very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. We don't do that anymore. We don't play your little games.
We don't play your little games. Not this administration. That's the new reality for the activist press corps. Meanwhile, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt took a scalpel to CNN's credibility, as if they had any. I mean, their only viewership is like while you're like walking from one terminal to another in an airport somewhere. She exposed their favorite journalist, Natasha Bertrand, and her decade-long pattern of publishing intelligence community lies. Check it out.
This was a low-confidence preliminary intelligence assessment, and the entirety of that assessment was not leaked to the media. Only tidbits of that assessment were leaked to CNN, and we have seen this playbook run before, where you have people in the intelligence community, or perhaps on Capitol Hill, we don't know, but I believe the FBI is investigating to find out who that leaker was, because it's illegal, and they should be held accountable for that, leaked bits and pieces of an intel assessment to push a false narrative. And it's to the same reporter, I will add, Natasha Bertrand of CNN, who has done this in the past. In 2020, it was Natasha Bertrand who had 51 intelligence analysts falsely lie to her, but she still put it on paper for some reason, that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. We all know that's not true, right? We can all agree on that now. That was a lie from the intelligence community. Also in 2020, this same reporter, Natasha Bertrand, wrote that a top intel agency ruled out the man-made lab leak theory of the coronavirus origins. Again, the president was right about that. This reporter wrote a lie from the intelligence community to seek a narrative she wanted to prove, and guess what? We now know that's the truth. Also, in 2024, Bertrand pushed the suckers and losers hoax. She also pushed the fine people hoax, which was taking the president's words purposely out of context. And then last October, and I believe this is notable, Natasha Bertrand published an article in Politico from the intelligence agency. She said that John Ratcliffe was speaking without any evidence when he said Iran was attempting to undermine President Trump's presidential campaign.
Our press corps needs to take a couple lessons from Poland's press corps. You know, we got the same reporter, same lies, same agenda. From Hunter's laptop to COVID origins to Iran, Bertrand just prints whatever the deep state feeds her. The Miami Herald got caught red-handed pushing fake news about DHS targeting foster children. Watch Leavitt expose how they refuse to print facts that contradict their despicable, awful, anti-American narrative.
I saw that Miami Herald article yesterday, and I was aghast at the headline. It's egregious to accuse this administration of trying to target foster children. That is not at all what is happening at the Department of Homeland Security. And I learned that the Department of Homeland Security actually tried to work in good faith with this reporter to get this story right, to explain that this administration is trying to protect foster children. We are trying to keep children out of harm's way, even if that means their parents are not law-abiding citizens. We want to protect children, unlike the previous administration, which allowed children to be trafficked and raped, and in some cases killed because of the open border policies. Unfortunately, the Miami Herald just completely degraded themselves with this report, despite having a full list of facts from the Department of Homeland Security. It's another example of fake news. And the May border numbers speak for themselves. Not a single illegal alien was allowed into this country because of this administration's border policies in the month of May. That means not a single child was allowed into this country, possibly with human smugglers or human traffickers. And we know that was happening at the rate of thousands and thousands of children every single month in the previous administration for 4 years. And you didn't see any reporting of that from the Miami Herald, but now they're trying to accuse this administration. And we tried to give them the facts, and they refused to report them. So thank you for bringing that report to light.
They had the facts. They chose the lies. That is modern journalism in America. It's entirely unfortunate. The New York Times used to be a respectable company. It's incredible how far we have fallen. The EPA administrator Lee Zeldin caught a New York Times reporter who hadn't even read the document she was writing about. Watch this masterclass in exposing fake news in real time.
New York Times. Where has a judge said that this is fraud?
I'm saying New York Times said it, Lisa. Lisa, if New York Times is going to write that there is no evidence.
Not true, sir. We've written that that judges have not found.
Okay, over the last
accurate?
few months, Lee Zeldin, administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, has made explosive, you know this because you wrote it, has made explosive accusations against the Biden administration, accusing it of insane malfeasance in its handling of $20 billion in climate grants. Now, as a legal battle ensues over those funds, many of Mr. Zeldin's claims remain unsupported and some are flat out false. Why wouldn't you write that there is any evidence?
Could you point us to where the judges have found that there's waste, fraud,
Oh,
and
see,
abuse,
it's
sir?
not that easy for you, Lisa. See, because you guys are writing stories. These are your words. These aren't the judge's words. So if you want to ask the question, I'm referring to one of your stories. And this came out before the judge's decision came out. Now, if you were to, did you read the judge's 39-page decision?
Sir, with all
Have
due
you read the
respect,
39-page decision?
We've read the decision. We are basing our reporting on judges' rulings before then and since, and I'm just asking you, sir, where has the judge found that there's waste, fraud, and abuse?
So you read the 39-page decision supporting a preliminary injunction? What? It's okay if you say no.
No, I've read all of it.
Okay, that's okay.
No, I didn't read all of it. How is she even there? How is she there? What are her qualifications? She wrote the story without reading the evidence, and this is a part of the narcissistic entitlement of the left. That tells you everything about their entire process. Leap before you look. Shoot and then aim. Secretary Rubio put the final nail in the coffin, explaining how these professional leakers manipulate intelligence to create a fake narrative. Check it out.
First of all this stuff about the intelligence, this is what a leaker is telling you the intelligence says. That's the game these people play. They read it, and then they go out and characterize it the way they want it characterized, and they're leakers. This is the game they play. So that's number one. Number two, here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility, we can't even find where it is, where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. 2 very different things. They are way behind where they were just 7 days ago. Now, anything in the world can be rebuilt, but now we know where it is, and if they try to rebuild it, we'll have options there as well. But all this leaker stuff, these leakers are professional stabbers. That's what they are. They go out and they read this stuff, and then they tell you what it says against the law, but they characterize it for you in a way that's absolutely false. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape. They are way behind today compared to where they were just 7 days ago because of what the president did.
You think Iran would come to the table and even consider a ceasefire if they weren't caught like with their pants down? You know, but what's insane is that this is what passes for journalism at the Communist News Network and the New York Slimes. You know, President Trump himself weighed in, calling out these networks by name and demanding that they apologize, not to him, to the soldiers, the pilots, the people who put their lives on the line to make this incredibly historic operation happen. Take a look.
That place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers.
Israel says that they violated the peace.
You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
I'm going to catch flack for this. But I'm just going to go out there and say it, okay? Donald Trump is a humble man. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, like with the tweets and with, you know, with the bravado oftentimes. But he's not asking for an apology for himself. He's asking for an apology for the people who put their lives on the line. These are citizens. These are soldiers. The American president said what every American thinks about our propaganda press. Like he's saying the quiet part out loud. The thing that you're not really allowed to say, right? Because free speech. We have free speech. Yeah, you are free to be a jerk. You are free to be a dumbass. Yes, that's true. Doesn't mean you should be. Now think about what we just witnessed. The Secretary of Defense had to hold a press conference, not to inform the public, but to combat deliberate lies from our own media. What an embarrassment. They're so consumed with Trump derangement syndrome and hatred that they'd rather see America fail than admit that Trump succeeded. These aren't journalists. These are enemy combatants in the information war against the American people, like Goebbels in Germany. Can you imagine the propaganda it took to propagate something like the Holocaust? Goebbels, CNN, MSNBC, New York Slimes. Now, if you got value from this report, please tap subscribe. My final thought is coming up post haste. This isn't about hurt feelings or mean tweets. This is about a media establishment that actively roots for American failure. They wanted those pilots to miss. They wanted us to fail this mission. They wanted Iran to keep their nukes. They wanted your sons and daughters to die in future wars just so they could blame Trump. Psychopathic narcissism is what I call it. And that's not hyperbole. And Pete Hegseth exposed this today. These people sit in newsrooms with their Columbia journalism degrees and their six-figure salaries, pecking away at their keyboards, typing stories that undermine the very soldiers who protect their freedom to lie. That is Shakespearean irony right there. They leaked classified intel, spun these false narratives, tried to steal victory away from American heroes who literally risked everything for you. For you. But here's the beautiful part about it. They failed. The truth won. You know, they say a lie can make its way around the world 5 times. Well, the truth is still getting its britches on. Not this time. Not this time. The truth won. The bombs hit their targets and the media hit rock bottom. They may as well have been a smoldering pile of ash heap in this Iranian mountain somewhere thousands of miles away. Now, let me ask you, should press credentials be revoked for reporters who publish leaked or classified information? Yes or no? Let me know, please. Tell me in the chat, please. I want to know. I'm going to read it. And while you're at it, check out shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, where your support for real journalism.